Hello, class. Good evening. So, for today, what we're going to discuss is Module 3, Fundamentals of Business Process Outsourcing. And this one is all about IT BPM engagements. So, for today, the question is, am I protected? Why is a business contract important? How does a contract protect your business? And for a contract to be effective, what should be indicated in its terms and conditions? And therefore, when dealing with a contractor or service provider, how can you protect your business through a contract? So ito yung mga bagay na pag-aaralan natin ngayong araw. Now, for the topical overview, we will be discussing the client-vendor relationship and its attributes. What is an IT BPM contract? IT BPM contract financials and the different regulatory requirements. So IT BPM stands for Information Technology Business Process Management. Now, our objective for today is to describe the attributes of a client and service provider relationship. Okay, define the following: the IT BPM contract, SOW or scope of work, Master Services Agreement or MSA, Service Level Agreement or SLA, and KPI, which stands for Key Performance Indicators. Of course, we need to enumerate the five core elements of an IT BPM contract, define and differentiate CapEx from OpEx, which is capital expenses or capital expenditures, and operational expenses or operational expenditures. Enumerate and define what are the IT BPM contract financials and enumerate the different regulatory requirements. Or ano-ano yung mga bagay na kailangan. Okay, when we are engaging in the IT BPM activities. So let's first discuss the client service provider relationship, the attributes of scope of work, MSA, and the core elements. So in terms of client service provider relationship, ito yung kanyang attributes. Of course, kung naaalala nyo dati, we have the client company. Ang client company is concerned with the quality of the transition process, the efficient operation of business functions that were once handled in-house. So si client, siya yung nagbabayad kay service provider. Kung naaalala nyo pa yung pinanood natin na outsource series, ang original location ni client ay nasa US and then they transfer the process in India. So they want to have a quality transition. That's why pinadala nila yung kanilang trainer from America going to India. And of course, they want to have an efficient operation and of course, efficient operation of business functions na kung saan dating ginagawa sa US, itinransfer nila sa India. When we say efficiency versus effectiveness, efficiency means you get the job done, but you do not waste your resources. Okay? Pero pag sinabi nating effective is, you just get the job done. Pero, okay, you just get the job done, pero you are not sure if you are not wasting or you're maximizing the resources available. So ang service provider company naman, they're the ones who are providing services to the client. So si client ang nagbabayad kay service provider. In return, si service provider magpo-provide naman ng required services na kailangan ni client para sa kanilang company. Like for example, yung pagsagot ng calls, pag-perform ng customer service, pagbibigay ng technical support, or other items na related sa outsourcing. Gaya halimbawa nung pinaliwanag ko dati na yung spada na ginamit sa Lord of the Rings, dito in-outsource yan sa Cebu. Yung mga animators, di ba? Yung mga magagaling mag-drawing, okay? Yung mga artist na kagaya niyan, ina-outsource from the Philippines going to the US. So ang halimbawa ng client is si Pixar Tapos ang halimbawa naman ng kanilang service provider company here in the Philippines is yung Animators Guild na nandito ngayon sa ating bansa. Alright. So, ang service provider, ang kinakailangan nilang gawin is, of course, they are concerned with the scope of service, yung coverage or yung lawak ng kanilang ipoprovide na service. Performance measures, yan. Paano mo ma-assess or ano yung mga bagay na tinitingnan pagdating sa kanilang trabaho? Are they complying with the requirement? And they meet the deliverables? Yan, ang tawag natin doon sa pino-provide na services or items, we call it as deliverables. Of course, the service provider company benchmarks to ensure objective standards in assessing work quality. Kapag narinig nyo o nakita nyo yung salitang benchmark, ibig sabihin, inaaral niya or kinukumpara niya sa existing company na pwede siyang matuto or pwede niyang gayanin para nang sa ganun, mas ma-improve pa niya yung kanyang trabaho or yung kanyang work. Therefore, as a result of this relationship attributes, the IT-BPM contract is a unique tailor-fit agreement captured in a document that resembles a performance contract. Ayan. So yung IT-BPM contract daw, ito ay tailored between the client and the service provider company. Para nang sa ganun, malaman ng bawat isa kung ano yung kanilang responsibilidad at ano ba yung pwede nilang makuha or sabihin natin na ibigay para sa bawat isa. Okay? Nag-e-exist dito yung tinatawag natin na a symbiotic relationship, a give and take relationship. Now, the IT-BPM contract is, okay, a formal agreement between a client and a service provider to take over a pre-agreed portion of the client's business operation. Ang tawag natin doon sa pre-agreed portion na yon, we call that as, okay? We call that pre-agreed portion, okay, as or scope of work. Okay, it is documented in the contract as the scope of work. The IT-BPM contract with all its attachments, assumptions, and documented agreements is referred to as the Master Services Agreement known as MSA. Yan. Ika nga, meron tayong isang malaking IT-BPM contract. Now, yung meron tong pre-agreed portion between the client and the service provider. Okay, yung pre-agreed portion, yun yung gagawin ni client, ito yung gagawin ni service provider, nakalagay yon sa tinatawag natin na SOW or scope of work. So, yung responsibilidad na magpe-perform dapat si service provider ng 1,000 calls for this particular period, okay? At naka-stipulate din doon magkano yung babayaran ni client. Okay, yun yung tinatawag natin na pre-agreed portion known as SOW or scope of work. Now, lahat ng attachments naman, lahat ng assumptions, lahat ng mga documents or agreements na related sa outsourcing activity na ito or sa IT-BPM contract, pag pinagsama-sama to, naka-attach yan lahat sa tinatawag natin na MSA or Master Services Agreement. Okay, magkakasama yan doon. So ano ba yung Master Services Agreement natin? Okay? It is a covering agreement that summarizes terms applicable to every job order with the service provider. So all in all, ito yung pinaka-summary ng ating kontrata. So ano ba yung elements ng ating MSA or Master Services Agreement? So we have the services to be provided, performance management, issues, change management, and the last one will be country loss. Okay. Ang tawag natin doon sa element A at element B, we call it as operational elements kasi ginagamit siya sa pang-araw-araw or day-to-day operations. Samantalang yung element C, ito lang yung just in case terms. Okay, just in case terms. Bakit po sir siya tinawag na just in case terms? Kasi itong A at saka B, ito yung services na ipe-perform ng service provider kay client. Itong B naman, ito yung pagbabago sa management at saka yung issues na ina-address as well as yung transition or change management from client going to the service provider. So all in all, it boils down to the operations or activities of the uh, company. Itong country laws, ito yung mga posible nating ma-violate or ma-neglect. Kaya siya tinawag na just in case terms. Halimbawa sa India, kapag nandun ka, mamaya mahawakan mo yung baka, bawal yun kasi the cow is holy in that country. O kaya naman sa Saudi ka naman mapapunta, nakitahan ka na may dala kang Bible while going to work or may dala kang rosary, bawal yun. Tapos sa ibang bansa pa, gaya ng halimbawa sa Singapore, dumura ka kung saan-saan, nag-spit ka ng chewing gum, definitely you will go to jail because of that. So, hindi natin pwedeng basta-bastahin yon. Dapat, if you're going to another country, you are going to familiarize yourself with the laws of that country para nang sa ganun, hindi maapektuhan yung trabaho mo or yung outsourcing activity natin. So, when it comes to the scope of work, it describes the work or the specific work that you're going to deliver, when, and how much or what cost. So, similar daw siya sa tinatawag natin na job order. Ayan. Ano yung gagawin mo, magkano yung bayad dyan, at kailan mo siya kailangan ma-perform. It is generally an attachment or addendum to a master services or to a master agreement, points to covering terms. Ayan. So, pandagdag lang din daw sa attachment, itong tinatawag natin na scope of work. So, it may state that in case of inconsistency, the SOW or master agreement supersedes. Ayan. In case man magkakaroon ng problema, ito yung titingnan natin. Ayan. Kasi iba na rin yung may kasulatan talaga. Okay. It should always be in black and white. So services to be rendered or provided as documented in the scope of work needs to be followed. So meron tayong tinatawag na performance standards expected from the service provider, which is the SLA and the KPI or service level agreements and key performance indicators. Na kung saan pwedeng sabihin na ito yung napagkasunduan ng client at saka ng service provider na in terms of the service level agreement, hindi bababa sa quality rating na average yung ipoprovide natin na services. At pagdating sa key performance indicator, halimbawa ang tinitingnan sa key performance indicator is yung number of calls done or receive. And of course, yung customer satisfaction, pwede rin gawing basihan yan. So, doon papasok ngayon yung ating performance standards. Kasi kaya tayo may standards, it will serve as the basis or guide kung ano yung dapat natin ginagawa or ano yung dapat natin na-achieve. Kasi kapag hindi natin nagawa yon, what will happen is bababa yung performance natin or bababa yung rating natin. Definitely, it will affect the company. It will affect the performance of your team. Okay? And of course, your individual performance will also reflect what your team is doing and you might be dragging the team down because of that. Kaya dapat alam mo yan. And yung timeline ng contract natin, ito yung start date or go live date na tinatawag. Kailan nag-umpisa at yung tinagal or hanggang kailan yung duration. And of course, yung cost na kinakailangan bayaran ni client. Okay, kasi pag natapos na yung outsourcing activity, ang masakit doon is kinakailangan mo na ring tapusin or i-end yung trabaho ng mga agents mo or you need to transfer them to another account. Gaya na nangyari sa amin dati sa Teletech nung nag-end na yung agreement between Teletech and Verizon Online, yung 1,600 na call center agents unti-unting binawasan, inilipat sa iba't ibang account. Kasi patapos na yung agreement. At may iba pang operational requirements. Ayan. So isa-isahin natin. Sa scope of work, pwedeng ganito yan. Pwedeng outbound sales call na kung saan ikaw yung tatawag. Okay, ikaw yung tatawag para magbenta kay customer at isa to sa pinakamahirap na gawain. Kasi if you're going to call your customer, you don't know if you're calling at a convenient time. Ayan. Pag inbound naman, you are receiving calls from your customers because they have inquiries or they have questions that you need to answer, particularly related to customer service or technical support. Yan, halimbawa na lang nito, delivery of food or flowers or even mail. Pagdating sa performance standards, ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na SLA and KPI, it includes handle time. Yan, yung handle time or average handling time, ito yung tagal dapat ng pagbababad mo sa calls or time na ikaw ay nakikipag-usap kay customer over the phone. For example, ang average handling time nyo lang is 6 minutes. 6 minutes dapat na-resolve mo na yung issue ni customer. Okay, yung handle time naman is yung kung yung average handle time, yun yung minimum amount dapat or minimum number of minutes na kausap si customer. Yung handle time naman is it refers to how you handled your customer at yung quality of the call. Kasi minsan may mga calls na matagal talaga, minsan may call naman na mabilis lang. Kalimitan sa mabilis na call ay ita-transfer mo lang yung customer from one line to another department. Okay. Ito yung ilan sa tinitingnan sa performance standards. Ayan, kung na-achieve mo ba yung sales. Okay? 'Di ba sa call center girl, sabi nga doon ni Pokwang, you make everything personal. So, kinakailangan para makabenta ka, kinakailangan mong mag-establish or mag-build ng rapport. Another thing is yung customer satisfaction rating. Kasi minsan, ang mga customers natin nagbibigay yan ng commendation or papuri. So what we need to do here is we need to satisfy our customers. We need to wow them. When we say wow, mapapawaw sila sa services na ipoprovide natin. Hahanga sila sa atin. So it's not impossible to get a commendation from your customers. So yung timeline of the contract, start dates or go live and duration, it is a detailed schedule of when the transition period starts and when the service provider assumes control of the contracted process. In terms of type or duration, most contracts are typically multi-year contracts. However, and when deemed most effective, on-demand contracts may also be put into effect. Ayan. So, pwedeng matagal, pwedeng mabilis lang, depende kay client yan. Yung pinag-uusapan naman natin na cost to the client, it refers to the payment made by the client to the service provider for honoring their contractual agreements. Ayan. So, ito yung binabayad na ni client base doon sa services na pino-provide ng service provider at napag-usapan nila nung una. Okay? Ito naman yung iba pang operational requirements. Okay? Who will provide the service? Qualifications of personnel. Okay? Kaya yung ibang call center companies, napaka-rigorous or higpit ng hiring process nila. Yung location of operations. Is it accessible to those people working in that company? Yung outline of reporting procedures, decision-making, and escalation of problems. Kailan ba natin inire-report yung activity kay client? Kung tayo yung service provider, is it done daily? Is it done weekly? And of course, pag may mga decision-making activities or escalation of problems, kailan natin yan gagawin? Okay, who are those people authorized na mag-perform ng escalation? And of course, yung legal provisions. Kasama dyan yung non-competition and confidentiality pagdating sa, halimbawa, yung mga tools na ginagamit natin sa trabaho, hindi natin yan pwedeng kopyahin or pwedeng i-disclose sa ibang tao kasi we will be violating the contract. O kaya naman yung ibang gamit natin, inuuwi natin na dapat sa call center company lang. So, hindi pwede yon. Okay? Dapat maliwanag lahat yan or stipulated yan sa contract natin. Now, punta naman tayo sa IT BPM contract and pricing models. So, fixed price, time, and material. Okay, pag sinabi natin na fixed price, this pricing model is very easy. Okay, it is easy to plan and more predictable than other pricing models. Kasi nga, fixed. Pag sinabi natin fixed, it is a pre-agreed price per unit and it is negotiated already. For example, ng fixed pricing is yung susweldohin or sweldo ng ating mga empleyado. So, computed na yung number of hours, okay, per day, as well as yung overtime pay nila if ever they will be rendering overtime. Now, the advantages for the service providers would be it is known in advance what will be paid and what will be delivered. Alam na nila magkano yung babayad sa kanila at alam na rin nila ano ba yung dapat nilang targets or dapat gawin. Ang advantage naman nito kay client is alam na niya yung expenses o yung cost. Kasi may ano na tayo meron na tayong figures. Ang disadvantage lang is may several risks with capital requirements at hindi siya masyadong flexible or nababago depende sa kalagayan ng economy. Halimbawa, kunyari nagkaroon ng political instability or nagkaroon ng issues like for example, ito yung pandemic na nga. So, kung medyo pumangit yung economy tapos ang pasahod mo mataas pa din, talagang nalulugi ka. Ayan. So, kinakailangan is naplano mo rin or napaghandaan mo yan na maigi bilang isang client. Now, when it comes to time and material, the price for service is based on the time and material that was used. Okay. Used when a service is very flexible and it's not predictable in terms of how much time and material is needed. In some cases, a maximum price for the service is negotiated by the client or customer to build in some control or safety level. In some practices, it is mixed with the above mentioned pricing, or the two pricing model is mixed and it's used by the different clients and service provider here in the country. Now, itong time and material, kung kailan mo lang siya kailangan at kung kailan mo lang siya gagamitin, gano'n siya kahalaga sa operations mo, doon mo lang siya gagamitin, pati ang gastos dito. An example of that will be, kunyari, sa construction, wala ka namang kakayahang bumili ng crane. What you did is, nag-outsource ka ng crane as well as yung operator nito. Siyempre, pwedeng pwede ang gawin mo para ma-maximize mo siya is gamitin mo yung sinasabi natin na pakyaw na o isang bayad na lang. Only hours na yon kaysa sa per hour ang bayad. Okay. Another example will be sa US. Kapag sa US ay holidays or meron tayong tinatawag na Thanksgiving, maraming mga call center agents ang hindi nagtatrabaho. So, ina-anticipate na yon. What they did is ini-increase nila yung number of workers or yung call center agents sa Pilipinas na pinag-overtime. At ang tawag natin doon sa mga nag-overtime na yon, we call them as FTEs. FTEs stands for full-time equivalents. Ayan. So, walang masyadong nagtatrabaho sa US, pero ang kapalit nun, nadadagdagan yung mga nag-overtime dito sa Pilipinas. So, additional cost yon on the part of the client. Meron naman tayong tinatawag na CAPEX at OPEX dito, as well as loaded cost. Ano naman ang CAPEX at OPEX? Ang CAPEX or capital expenditure is a business expense incurred to create future benefit. Expenditure on assets like a building or the physical space, machinery, equipment, or upgrading existing facilities so their value as an asset increases. Ayan. So dito daw, kasama daw yung purchase or pagpapagawa ng building and physical space, including yung pagbili ng machinery or different equipment that is needed for the activities of your call center company. Now, ang OPEX naman is the money that the company spends to turn inventory into output. These are operating expenses, which also includes depreciation of plants and machineries now that are used in the production process. Okay, dito naman papasok na yung ginagamit natin for operations, wherein you are converting your inputs into outputs. Yung pagtitake ng calls, kasama na dyan yon, yung lahat ng gastos na related doon. So those expenditures required for the day-to-day functioning of the business like wages, utilities, maintenance, and repairs will fall under OPEX. Ayan. Yung ating wages, yung ating paggawa, repairs, as well as yung utility expense. Okay? Gaya halimbawa ng tubig, kuryente. Ayan. Yun ay papasok na sa OPEX. So, ito yan, ang definition. Okay, binanggit na natin ang definition kanina at yung ibang tawag. Ang accounting treatment natin, it will not be fully deducted in the period when they were incurred. Okay, yan. So, ang ginagawa dito is nagkakaroon tayo ng depreciation. Dito naman, operating expenses are fully deducted in the accounting period during which they were incurred. Ayan. So, in output or throughput accounting, okay, money spent on inventory falls under CAPEX at yung money spent turning inventory into output will fall into OPEX. Dito, yung mga ginastos na pera natin, okay, para sa inventory, papasok siya sa CAPEX or capital expenditures. Kasama nga dyan yung mga building natin or fixed assets. Samantalang yung ating mga ginamit para yung inventory natin matransform natin into an output, okay, we call that as OPEX. Sa operations, okay, ang cost incurred for acquiring fixed assets, property, and equipment, it's under CapEx. Samantalang lahat ng cost na associated naman para sa maintenance at pag-fix ng lahat ng bagay na related sa operations, pati yung utilities natin, OpEx siya. O, ito yung halimbawa natin sa CapEx. Pagbili ng computer hardware, yung pag-acquire ng intellectual property assets, kagaya ng patents, yan, CapEx yan. Pero ito naman yung sa OpEx natin, salaries and benefits, maintenance and repair of computer hardware, utilities, rent, business development and employees engagement expenses, kasama dyan yung training ng mga tao mo, OpEx yan. Okay? So, ang components ng process cost natin, associated siya sa roles. Okay? Sa roles or activities, process, and tasks that may be outsourced via the offshoring outsourcing strategy. Okay. Ito yung mga ilang components niyan. Kapag tayo nag-outsource kasi, okay, ito yung mga bagay na under ng tinatawag natin na process cost. So when we say offshoring, okay, lalabas tayo ng bansa. Okay, we have labor costs, we have direct costs, and we have indirect costs. Yan. So, under labor cost, which is a component of process cost, ito yung nasa ilalim naman niya. We have compensation, we have benefits, we have bonuses, and we have incentives. So, pagdating sa compensation, okay, syempre, it refers to those things or items that you provide to your employees wherein masasabi nila na they are receiving well or they are they are enjoying what their company is giving them, typically money. Yan, typically money. Okay? Money is the greatest motivator, di ba? Now, you are being awarded or compensated for the things that you're doing for the company. Okay. Pag sinabi naman natin na benefits, ano ba yung nabe-benefit mo na dyan pag ikaw ay nag-work sa isang call center company? Okay. If you're working for a particular company, like for example, call center company, pinaprovide ka halimbawa ng may mga service, ayan, meron kang mga sleeping quarters in case hindi ka makauwi. Okay, ano pa na-enjoy mo? Meron kang may game room na pwede mong tambayan after work. Tapos meron pang pino-provide na halimbawa naman ay scholarship for your own advancement. Pagdating naman sa bonuses, ito yung mga nakukuha natin na pera, particularly halimbawa mid-year or 13-month or 14-month pay, 15, 16, yan. And pagdating sa incentives, ito yung mga pino-provide ng company sa'yo kapag nami-meet mo yung mga requirements natin. Halimbawa, na-meet mo yung consistent ka na top agent. Okay, pwede kang makakuha ng halimbawa nun is top employee of the month or consistent top employee of the month na kung saan meron pino-provide na incentive halimbawa na 5,000 kung 5 buwan kang consecutive na or consistent top employee or top agent. Or pwede kang makakuha ng mga travel for 2, travel for 4 sa ibang bansa or sa ibang lugar. Right? So isa 'yon sa halimbawa na tinatawag natin na components ng process cost which is under labor cost. Another thing is yung direct cost naman na kung saan employees are being trained or sent to different trainings for their own career advancement or development. Yung iba pinapadala pa sa abroad. The company will be providing employee tools and equipment like for example, desktop computers and communication devices as well as laptops or tablets na kung saan ngayon nga ay ginawa yan itong panahon ng pandemic or pandemya. Coordination and management, travel, representation meetings, and workshops. Ayan. So, under direct cost, itong mga bagay na to, itong lahat ng ginagastos for this is being aggregated under direct cost na kung saan component din siya ng process cost. At yung indirect cost naman, yan, syempre ito ay patungkol naman sa infrastructure, gaya halimbawa ng pagpapagawa natin ng buildings, uh, establishment of your internet connection, including the hardware and software that you will be purchasing, and of course, other charges. Kumbaga, magpapatayo tayo ng regional office or regional branch, and of course, yung ating mga losses or gains mula sa foreign exchange. Ayan. So, yun yung mga indirect cost natin sa ating company. Okay. Now, we have this annual cost naman. Okay, ano naman 'tong, siyempre ito yung loaded annual cost natin o yung binabayaran natin na yearly, kasama diyan yung, compensation, salary, and bonuses. Okay. So, sa outsourcing companies napakaganda kasi meron silang pino-provide na bukod sa ito nga talaga namang may salary, may bonus din na natatanggap ang mga empleyado natin lalo na 'pag December. Okay, ang benefits naman, ito meron tayong training, health, life insurance. As far as I remember, meron pino-provide na medical card na pwedeng gumamit kahit sinong member ng family mo. Yan, pwede mong ipagamot using that card. May profit sharing, pension matching, workers' compensation, okay, and others. At pagdating sa infra, meron tayong facilities, okay, rental ng venue at IT support. Ayan. Okay, ito naman yung regulatory requirements natin under this. Yan, siyempre under ito ng PESA. Okay? BOI qualification and requirements or PESA. Okay. So ito yung regulatory requirements natin. Okay. Adherence to government regulations, which is external factor ito, outside the organization. So ito yung mga sinusunod natin na regulating agencies pagdating sa outsourcing. We have BOI or Board of Investments, BIR, Bureau of Immigration, DOLE, Pag-ibig, PESA, SEC, SSS, and the data privacy law. So pagdating naman sa internal regulatory requirements, we have our own standard or policies or guidelines. Service provider implements their own regulation. Yan. Panloob yan. Atin yan. An example of that is, halimbawa, kinakailangan, bukod sa mamimit natin yung targets, iwasan natin yung tinatawag natin na absenteeism or tardiness. Yun lang naman yung malimit doon. So ano ba ang BOI? Ang Board of Investment is a Republic of the Philippines agency created under DTI. Ang gusto nito is it strives to attract direct investments into the country to contribute to economic growth and jobs creation in the Philippines. Ayan. So dito sabi ko nga sa inyo, napakaganda mag-apply sa BPO company kasi pag naka 2 years ka na sa college, pwede ka mag-apply dito. And if you have good communication skills and if your interviewer or examiner will see that you have a potential, definitely you will be hired. So sa qualification ng BOI, a Philippine enterprise can register their project with BOI if the proposed activity is listed as a preferred project, okay, a preferred project in the current IPP. Okay, in the current IPP. The said enterprise may engage, okay, the said enterprise may engage in domestic oriented activities in the IPP, whether classified as pioneer or non-pioneer. Ayan. Ang sinasabi dito is pwede naman daw mag-engage ang tinatawag natin na enterprise or yung mga company which is registered here in the Philippines sa isang project, okay, as long as kasama siya sa tinatawag natin na current IPP or registered siya dito sa atin or dito sa Pilipinas. Okay, ano ba yung tinatawag natin na IPP? Okay? So, ang definition niya dito is yung investment and implementation plan. Okay, basta nakasama daw siya sa current investment and implementation plan. Okay? Siya daw ay pwedeng mag-operate or mag-perform dito sa atin kahit daw siya ay bago or luma. At para mangyari yun, ito yung kinakailangan. Kapag naman daw siya hindi nakalista doon, okay, sa tinatawag natin na IPP, okay, they may still be entitled to incentives if the following conditions are met. Okay, at least 50% of the production is marked for export. 60% Filipino, 40% foreign owned, or at least 70% of production is marked for export for foreign owned enterprise. Ayan. Pero tatandaan natin, syempre, outsourcing company yan, any outsourcing company is qualified under 100% export. So mababaliwala na tong conditions na nasa taas. Okay? For foreign-owned firms or those firms whose foreign investment exceeds 40% of the outstanding capital stock who can engage in domestic-oriented activities, they can only be registered with BOI if they propose to engage in an activity listed or classified in the IPP as pioneer. Ayan. Kapag daw lumagpas na ng 40% yung kanilang outstanding capital stock, they can register with BOI given na siya daw ay classified sa IPP natin, Investment Priority Plan, as pioneer. However, kung hindi naman niya na-hit yun, it can likewise opt to be an export-oriented firm to qualify for BOI. However, this time, the export requirement should be at least 70%. Okay. Kung hindi niya ma-meet yung 40%, or hindi siya or kung nag-exceed siya sa 4% pero hindi siya kasama sa IPP, hindi siya pwedeng mag-operate. Pero kung ang mangyayari is at least 70% of the actual production, it can be possible. So ito yung requirements natin sa BOI. DTI registration, SEC registration, yan, audited FS, financial statement, and ITR for the past 3 years kung meron, board resolution, accomplish application form 501, and project report. Yan. So ito yung mga requirements na hinihingi bago ka makapag-umpisa ng outsourcing activities. So may tinatawag tayong PESA. Okay. Okay. The creation of PESA. The development of special economic zones throughout the country and the very competitive incentives available to investments inside PESA. The special economic zones are embodied in the Special Economic Zone Act of 1995, also known as Republic Act number 7916, a law passed by the Philippine Congress. So in PESA, okay, to promote Philippine investment, they extend assistance, register grant incentives to and facilitate the business operations of investors in export-oriented manufacturing and service facilities inside selected areas throughout the country proclaimed by the President of the Philippines as PESA Special Economic Zone. Okay. So, ang PESA, ang ibig sabihin niyan ay Philippine Economic Zone Authority, na kung saan, okay, through RA 7916, may mga areas daw na kino-consider na special economic zones kung saan may mga incentives na nakukuha yung mga investors, or it's special, sabihin natin na special exemptions or special favors are given to those companies or investors operating under PESA. Okay. Para mag-qualify ka, you should be an export-oriented enterprise that are found in any of PESA Special Economic Zone. So, dito sa atin, sa Philippines, ang PESA zones natin is napakadami. Yan. Meron tayo dito sa Batangas. Okay. At meron din tayo dun sa Pampanga. Particularly yung mga construction or sabihin natin na manufacturing. Okay. So as of November 21, we have 415. Yan, ang manufacturing economic zones natin, we have 76. Ang IT or BPO, we have 297. At sa tourism, we have 17. Pagdating sa agro, industrial economic zones, we have 22. At yung medical or tourism park centers, we have 3. Okay. That's according to Philippine Economic Zone or pesa.gov.ph. Yun yung mga numbers natin. So para makapasok ka or ma-considered ka as an enterprise under PESA, kinakailangan mag-accomplish ka muna ng application form and anti-graft certificate, corporate profile, board resolution, SEC certificate or registration, kasama yung articles of incorporation and bylaws, or yung nandito rin yung project brief, kasama dyan yung information on market, technical, financial, and management aspects of the business that will be registered. Okay, in short, para tong papatak dito yung iyong business plan nakabase sa isang feasibility study. Now, syempre, after all of this, meron tayong Data Privacy Law, RA number 10173, Republic Act number 10173, na kung saan it's protecting individual personal information in information and communication systems in the government and private sector, creating for this purpose a National Privacy Commission for other purposes, wherein yung data in the company, particularly yung mga numbers, figures, financials, as well as yung mga tools, is protected by this act, na kung saan hindi siya pwedeng gamitin for other purposes or pwedeng gamitin for personal purposes. Other than that, you are violating this law and you can go to jail. Yan, the data privacy law. Hindi mo siya pwedeng i-disclose or ibahagi sa ibang tao. Now, there is an industry-specific regulations, control of communication channels and information system, Article 16 of RA 10173, na kung saan the communication channels and information systems of the bank shall be controlled. Yan. To ensure that information obtained within the bank is reliable, complete, traceable, and consistent. Para maiwasan din natin yung mga tinatawag natin na hacking or fraud. Samantalang sa Article 34 naman, auditing of partnership subjects to consolidation, banks shall take all necessary measure to ensure that their internal audits units can inspect all activities. Ayan. So may audit din daw lagi. Okay? For consolidated partnership without limitation to ensure that their internal audits can inspect all activities. Yun ang sinasabi sa Article 34. Kasi pag hindi mo na monitor, hindi mo na check, there's possibility na merong fraud na nangyayari or there's something wrong that might happen or contingencies as well. And so ito yung natapos natin for today. Okay, I hope class that you learned something from this discussion. Now I will be just posting the activity that you need to do in your phones, or I think it will be really done, or you will be using the application using your Android phones. So good luck and God bless. Thank you very much.